Thank you for jumping on the JA Titan training. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the email that you should have received from the JA staff member. Yours should show basically like how to set up a multiplayer. You can see it's attached. We also have our South Dakota guide. And then we have the student logins for your specific class. So on the email you should have gotten, there's a lot of different information. You should have your class information, your teacher, everything like that. Then we have certain links that you are going to use within your class that we're going to be going over. How to set up a game. We've got videos or written instructions here. Simulation access. We want you to play the simulation as many times as you can before you go into the classroom. So that way, the more you play it, the more information you will have on the simulation, and then the better you can kind of explain it to your students. And then we just give you lots of extra curriculum kind of information that you will need for the class. So for the curriculum, which is what we're going to go over first, the biggest thing is this bullet point right here. That is the JAUSA's guidebook. This will have everything for all the sessions in it. And there's a few times in our guidebook where we say, hey, like, you know, look at the facilitator guide pages 52 to 54 and look at the information there. So when you are, which we'll get into our curriculum, but if you need to access it, that's where you do it. We do give you direct access, so don't think you have to find it. So we're going to go over our South Dakota outline. So I will share that. This is, again, JAUSA writes the curriculum as 11 sessions, but a lot of the information repeats. So what we've done is we have taken the 11 sessions and condensed it down into 5 sessions. So right here in the very front, we say, you know, visit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's exactly what you're going to talk about. And from the 11 sessions, these are just the name of the 11 sessions that we've taken it from. To practice the simulation, we've written the instructions right here, which is super important. Again, we want you to practice the simulation as many times as you can before you go into the classroom. Then we've got written instructions of how to set up a multiplayer simulation, what it looks like for the students. We'll go over all that in just a minute once we've looked at the curriculum. So then we have it broken down into your 5 visits. Again, we say visit 1, here's the topics that we're taking it from. We give you some talking points, but also with just like any junior achievement program, we want you to add in your own personal and professional stories as well. So we just break it down. Every time you go into the classroom, you're going to spend about 15 to 20 minutes talking to the students. And then we want them to jump on the simulation for about 20 to 25 minutes. So every single time you go into the classroom, the students will jump on to the JA Titan simulation. So for session 1, you are new to this classroom, so we want you to take time to introduce yourself, to tell us a little bit about your job, you know, what a day-to-day looks like for you in your career, you know, maybe the education it took to get there, because we do want students to be introduced to different careers throughout their JA experience. Then what we've done is, you know, we've got some icebreakers, and we really want you to play to your strengths. So we say, you know, choose 1 or more of the following topics. So you're not going to get through them all, but maybe ask 1 or 2 of these questions to get the conversation flowing, because you want to figure out, you know, what the students know. You want to talk about what kind of you're going to be going over and figure out what they know. So again, if you want to do them all, you can, but then you're going to have to shorten up some other talking points, because we want to make sure the students get on the simulation every single time. Then we have the simulation exploration, which is basically the gameplay. And it says down here, gameplay as time allows. The first time we want you to kind of take a decent amount of time to be on the simulation, because as you're going to find out from me, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to really show what the simulation looks like. So students won't even get to make a lot of decisions the first time. It'll be kind of just learning how the simulation works, what all the buttons do. So you're going to spend a good amount of time on it the very first time. Visit 2, again, we just have some talking points about price and production. And right here it says found on facilitator guide pages 55 through 58. That's when you would click that link in the email that I gave to you earlier. You would scroll down to pages 55 through 58, maybe write down some talking points, or you can cut and paste something. And that's what you're going to talk about. Again, we say in here, you're only going to spend about 10 to 15 minutes talking the second time. And then the rest of the time we want that gameplay, because now that they've seen the simulation and they know a little bit about it, we really want them to have a good amount of time to deep dive into it and make decisions. Then visit 3, you are going to talk again for about 20 to 25 minutes using the facilitator guide, pages 76 to 83. This one's all about R&D, which is research and development, and marketing. Marketing is huge in the simulation, because if we don't market or advertise our product, we're not going to sell anything. So there's a YouTube video that you can play if you want. And here's a lot of talking points on research and development that we have taken straight from the JAUSA guide. Again, this looks like a lot of information. So you're like, how the heck am I going to get through all this? It can be a back and forth. You can kind of, look at your time and how much can you get in there. There's some great vocab that we want the students to know. So if they don't get quite as much gameplay this time, that can be okay, because we want to make sure that they're understanding these concepts. So it's not you'll always talk for 20 and they'll be on the simulation for 25. It's more of here's kind of the rough amount of time you should be teaching versus a simulation, but obviously you're going to know your class. And if you're having a great discussion, we want you to continue that. Visit 4 is all about CSR, or corporate social responsibility. So there's a lot of good talking points in here, and we really want them to understand what CSR is and why it's important, because in the game they will have to make decisions on if they want to give to charity, if they want to give their employees benefits or PTO. So social responsibility can be huge, and it can really impact a business and their brand. So this is some good talking points. Again, we've pulled it out here as well. We always love when you talk about how JA is a nonprofit, and we rely on individuals and businesses to donate money to us, because otherwise we would not survive. So we are a nonprofit. So if businesses give to us, that impacts their corporate social responsibility. Then the last time we're in the classroom, number 5, again, you're just going to be in there for a short amount of time, because we really want them to be on the simulation most of the time. This spring, we will host a JA Titan statewide competition that's going to take place April 27th. And so we want them to have a good amount of time on the simulation, because this will be the last time they see it before the competition. So we've got a lot of, we say choose 2 or 3. So don't think, how am I going to get through all this in 7 minutes? We just want you to choose a few topics and, again, do your strengths. Then you're going to let them get on the simulation and see it again for the majority of the class time. So you have a copy of this. Obviously, I did it very, very high level, but you'll want to just kind of look over the talking points. Again, add in your personal and professional stories anytime you can, because that's what's really going to make the content great. So when you are working with your teacher, you want to schedule 5 visits. What I'm going to do now is I am going to go over the simulation. So we're going to look at how to log in. We are going to look at how to set up a multiplayer game. And then I am going to spend about 10 to 15 minutes showing you what the simulation looks like and how all the decisions are made. So I'm going to share my screen. You are just going to go to, and it's in your email as well, that you should have received. It's jatitan.ja.org, and it will take you to this screen that says log in with JASA. When you were signed up for the class, you should have received an email from JASA telling you to set up your password. If you didn't, you can let a JA staff member know by emailing us, and we will send you the reset password link. So you're just going to click login with JASA, and you are going to log in. Your username is the email that JA has on file for you. So whether it's your work email or your personal, whatever email we've been emailing, that's the one that's on file. And then the password is something that you have created. JA does not have access to this. So if you forget it, you will need to reset your password. Now, since I clearly am an area admin, mine looks just slightly different than yours because I can see all the games that are added, but yours should be blank if you haven't added any games. And you're going to see over on the left-hand side dashboard and games. That's going to be your two most important buttons. So when you are teaching a class, you can do it before you teach, or you can have the teacher do it as you're teaching in class, but just talk to them ahead of time of what they want to do. To set up a multiplayer game, which is how we want to do it, you're going to click on Games and then Create New Game. The game name can be anything you want. If you want, the students to establish it, like maybe you're going to put, February 14th because you've got a game tomorrow. You want it distinct because you need to make sure that all the students are clicking the correct game. Then you're just going to scroll down and answer the question. So game start, we always want to click manual. This is so important. I cannot stress this enough. If you have it automatic, the students will only have a set amount of time to get in. So we want it on manual so the teacher and volunteer control when the game officially starts. If a student team is not in the simulation, if they are not logged in, and you start the game, they will not be allowed to enter the game. So what I do is, I walk around my classroom and make sure that every student is in, because when they're in the simulation ready to go, it'll show a little hourglass showing that, yep, you're in the waiting room. So you want to make sure that every single student has that hourglass on their computer before you start. So make sure this is manual. Turn completion, you are going to want to click manual. If you do automatic, you'll only have a set number of times for each quarter. And until the students know the game better, that just doesn't work. So manual lets you kind of play it by ear, where you can say, okay, walk around, are all the students done? Okay, yep, we're going to move on to the next quarter. So we want that to be manual. And again, these instructions are written in your guidebook that I just showed you. And we have videos on our website walking you through all these steps as well. For game setting, I always just do custom game. If you want to make the game harder, you can do a scenario and you can select natural disaster. You can do an era of discovery. There's a lot of different types of scenario. I always do custom game. I honestly haven't played around with the scenarios at all. If you want to and you feel confident, you totally can. For cash on hand, I always recommend $1 million or two, depending on how long of a game you're playing. For the first game, I always recommend 4 quarters. That's what we're going to do today when we play, because this allows students to really just see the simulation and get a few quarters under their belt. Now, if you're playing for a longer time, you can do long quarters, or by the 4th or 5th visit, you should be doing 8 to 12 quarters. Because they will be able to make decisions faster. So we're just going to do 4 quarters. We're going to pretend. Then you're going to select players. Now I will show every single class that's running across the state because I'm an admin. You should only see one single class. So we're going to click on this class. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this box up here that checks everyone. It doesn't matter who's in, who's out. It won't affect the game. Then we want players at companies, so you would leave that, and then we just click create, and that would create the game. Now I'm not going to, because we're not playing a multiplayer game today, but that's exactly how you do it. So you would just follow the steps, click on games, create new game, follow the steps. But what I'm going to show you today is I'm going to show you the simulation and how all the decisions are made, how they work together. It seems honestly a little overwhelming at first because it's new, but once you've played the game a few quarters, it actually becomes a lot more simple. And again, we highly recommend you playing multiple games before you teach the class, because you can play as many games as you want. So today I'm going to show you how you as the volunteer would play a game to practice. So you click on dashboard and then you click play the game and it's going to load. Sometimes this loading screen takes a hot minute, so just know you got to give it some time because it does take a minute to load. And once it loads, you are going to click single player simulation. Now, when the students log in, they would click multiplayer simulation. They would click on the game, February 14th, and then that would take them to the loading screen. But to practice, you just click single player simulation. And then you just follow the instructions. So how much money do we want? I'm going to just do 2 million. I'm going to do 4 quarters, just so we can kind of see what it looks like and hopefully get to the end of the game. This just tells you that basically when you're playing the simulation, the students are CEOs of a cell phone company, and they get to decide their price. They get to decide how much phones they want to make. They get to decide their marketing strategy, everything like that. They get to put all the decisions into the phones, and then they get to compete against each other to try to decide or to try to sell the most phones. So it's really fun. The students love to compete against each other, but basically you can just skip that. That's what that tells you. Now we get to create our logo. So each student team will get to do this. You can use these green arrow or these gray arrows to choose the color, to choose the shape, whatever you want. They get to be creative. And then they get to create their company name. It must be school appropriate. And then down here, they get to choose their avatar. This person is going to help them if they're struggling. If you want maybe another person to walk you through the simulation, you can always keep this checked. I'm going to uncheck it because I don't want anyone to walk me through the simulation because I'm going to do it today. Then when you click done, it is going to bring us into the simulation. So this is our home page. This is our budget page, and there's a lot on this page. Again, it's going to kind of seem like a lot, but in the end, it's not. On the left-hand side, it shows who has money. So obviously we all have $0 right now because we haven't made any decisions, but once we go through the first quarter, we will all have money and it will show who has the most money. In the middle, it shows a breakdown of how much money we're spending in each category. So you can see our categories are research and development, production, marketing, and corporate social responsibility. So it will show us here, obviously everything is 0. It will show us exactly how much money we are spending and if we lost money or gained money. These budget sliders are just to give us a snapshot of what we're spending our money on. As you can see, if I slide one, the other one slide. So just know that you can play around with this. If you go over budget, you'll have to adjust these slider tabs. Then at the top, within every tab up here, you're going to have 3 tabs. So the first tab is always kind of a reporting tab, what happened in the last few quarters. This loans tab, if you are comfortable and want to dive into that, you sure can. I never have, nor do I encourage my students to do it. It puts them into debt right away, and it just makes the games harder. We don't play long enough games for it to equal out. So I would not use this loans tab, but if you have played a lot or, this is your field of expertise, you can feel free to use this. The projections tab tells me, am I supposed to be making money or losing money? We're going to go through other decisions later on, but you can see here, I can make decisions from this screen and it will adjust. You can see that red arrow going up and down. It will tell me, hey, am I going to probably make a profit or a loss based on that decision? Tells me here what the cost of the phone is, what the markup is. So this is kind of my projection tab. I always like to look at this just right before I do next quarter, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so that is our budget tab. Next, we are going to go to research and development. Again, the first tab is always a reports tab. Nothing to report because we haven't made any decisions. Labs, the middle tab is always if we want to gain more teams, like teams of people working on our phones, if we want to build more factories. So that's kind of what those are. Some people build them right away and, you know, take a loss right away, but then they can make more phones. Some people don't mess with them at all. So it's totally up to you. Play it a few times, see what you think. As normal operations, again, tells us how many teams right here that we are going to allocate to this specific thing. So if I want 4 teams putting money into research and development, I'm going to move it to 4. And then we're going to go to features. So features tell me what phone feature do I think is going to be the most important that I want to try to get the new version of. So I can see over here, I've got 4 teams. So let's say I say, you know what? I think people want a better camera, right? Because who doesn't want a better camera for their phone? So I'm going to click on camera and I'm going to add teams. So if I add a team, it tells me that it'll be done in 3 quarters. So in 3 quarters, I'll have a brand new camera. So maybe your strategy, since I don't have any data yet, maybe my strategy is to spread it out. So I say, you know what, we're going to do now, you know, 1 team to a bunch of different things. This tells me, you know, we're working on it here. It tells me I've allocated 4 out of 4. And as you can see, I've got a lot of red happening. I went over budget. So we're going to go back to our budget tab and kind of see what's going on. I still have a lot of room in the budget. So we're just going to move that up a little bit so I can make sure that I am not going over budget. Everything went gray now, so I'm good. And now we are done. So we're going to move on to the production tab. Some people for this like to say, you know what, I want to put everything into the camera, even though I don't know if people want that yet. I just think that's what people are going to want. Or maybe you don't, you know, maybe you do 2 teams the first round till you find what people want. Again, play the simulation to see what you think. On the productions tab, we have the reporting tab. Not much here. Factories, if we want more factories. This tells us how many phones we can make. So, you know, I say, maybe I'm like, oh, I'm not up and running right now. So I'm maybe only want to make 4,000. I want to save a little money. I don't need to make that many phones right away until I get my name out there. Product, if we have a new feature, so what we just did in research and development, if we have a new feature, that will show up right here. We do have to click on it to add it to our phone. I'm just going to go back to research and development and I'm going to put everything into a camera just so I can get a new feature so I can show you what it looks like. So this tells me it'll be done in 1 quarter. So I know next quarter I'll have a new feature. The middle tab is at what percent capacity do I want to produce phones? So this tells me that my unit capacity is 4,000. If I'm at 46%, I can produce 1,800 phones. And I always start with an inventory of 1,400 for every game. The old simulation used to say, yep, always do 80. This one really doesn't have that. You can see I get some negative points when I go over 80. Those are bad points towards me. I'll show you some good points later. Those victory points are how we're going to win the game. So let's say I'm like, you know, I'm only doing 4,000. So I think I'm going to sell a lot of phones. So we're going to do 63%, see how it goes. Then we come to the price. So my price is $313 right now. I say, you know what, I'm pretty new. Let's bring that down to 300 just so we make sure that we are trying to stay really relevant for those people who don't want to pay that much for phone. I'm still, you know, marking up $185. So it only cost me $114 to make. So now we've got our price set. Now we're going to go to marketing and sales. The reports tab, again, doesn't have much. Different branches, and then again, our team. So how many teams do we want to allocate? Let's just say we want to allocate 4 teams because we want to do a lot of research right in the beginning, right? Because we want to know like who wants our phones. So then we have under the 3rd tab, we've got demographic A, B, and C. The top tab right here is the cost. So how much is this demographic willing to pay for this phone? And the next is, or I'm sorry, the first one is features. So what features do they want? So do they want the best camera? Do they want a better screen? Do they want a longer lasting battery? And then the second one is the cost. And then the third is advertising. Now I will tell you, you have to have some form of advertising to advance the next quarter, which is really good because, you know, if we don't advertise, we cannot sell our phones. So let's say we're like, you know what, we just want to really market research right now. So I'm gonna say I want to know demographic A, B, and C. What features do they want? Let's figure that out. Let's maybe not care about cost so much right now. And then we'll advertise to C. So I've got 4 out of 4 teams allocated. We're gonna say, okay, you know, next time maybe we'll do cost or we'll do more advertising. But right now, let's just find out what features they want. Then we're going to go CSR. Obviously, there's nothing to report. And this is charitable giving. You can see everyone's really mad right now. There's no bonuses, no benefits. Our company's not giving to charity and they're not giving us volunteer hours. We don't like that. So we're going to move our sliders to green. You can see I got that good victory point, and another one there. So I want to give a lot of money to this CSR. Maybe, you know, I'm like, well, volunteer efforts don't matter quite as much, but bonuses do, right? Because my employees want bonuses. So we're going to maybe take this one down a little bit, but we want this to stay high. They can do whatever they want. A lot of students just simply slide over till it's green, slide over till it hits green. They can do that if they want. They'll save money, but it's always good to talk about, you know, if we have money, if we're making a lot of money, maybe we up these a little bit, or, you know, up our volunteer efforts, something like that. So they can also select what cause to give to. It doesn't affect the game, but it's just kind of fun if they're passionate about something. They can select what kind of volunteering they want to do as well. So there's some different like decisions they can make, which is super fun. Then I'm going to go back to my budget tab. I've made all my decisions. I'm just going to slide my budget over to where everything, I'm not spending extra money unnecessarily. These events down here can be good or bad. This is under corporate social responsibility. It says happy employees, public praise, right? I made some good decisions. You know, I always check my projections tab. Okay, you know, I'm spending a lot, but I'm also getting off the ground. But it does say I'm still going to make a little bit of money possibly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click next quarter because I think all the decisions are made. If something is wrong or I have forgotten something, it will tell me right here. So we're just going to click confirm. And it's going to tell me how we did. So this is how many phones we produced. The students can skip this at the top right, but they actually really enjoy like looking through all this. So, and I do too. It's my favorite part. So we made 2,500 phones. How many did we sell? Hopefully most of them. Ooh, we sold 33, almost 34. Remember, because we had that 14 in inventory. So I've got 545 phones left in inventory. So I do still have a few to spend. Then it tells me research and development, production, marketing, and CSR. This is how much money I spent. And then it tells me I made money. I get the cha-ching sound. So it tells me my revenue, my cash expenses, and then how much I made. So then you can just continue and we go straight on to the next quarter. So then I can kind of look, okay, it looks like I'm not winning. I'm in last place. So we got to do better next time. The computer is winning. So I kind of look at my budget, see, you know, if I want to change anything. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making decisions and then just adjust my budget as needed. So reports, you know, I'm just going to kind of see, oh, it looks like I got a feature, but no one else did. So that's cool. I'm going to leave that at 4. So what do we want to put in now? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, where do we want to put this? We have the new camera, but I'm going to go to my marketing and sales and see what features do people want. Well, you can see every single demographic wants the camera. So the camera was a good gamble because now I have the latest camera and no one else does. So that's going to give me the upper hand. I think this is memory. All 3 demographics want memory. So I think I'm going to do memory next and pour some into memory. A few people want the screen. So maybe I'll do, you know, 1 or 2 in there as well. I can see demographic C bought most of my phones. So I'm going to really look to them and see what they want. So the camera's good, and then I'm going to want the memory and the screen. So I'm going to go back to research and development, say, okay, my camera's good. The screen I'd already started, so that's awesome. We're just going to add one. Boom, that'll be done next time. And then we're going to go to the memory and we're going to add. So that'll be done in 2 quarters. So we're getting there. So now I've got that. Okay, that's done. This tells me my price. I was kind of in the middle. The highest was $327, but again, I have a new feature, so I might go here and say, oh, I might up my price. I wanted to point out this. This says that I have a new camera, so I have to go into camera and click the second one. Now it's added to my phone. It puts me over budget, so I'm just going to go and adjust my budget a little bit to make sure that I'm not overspending. I sold out last time, so maybe I say, you know what, I need to make 6,000 phones because I sold out last time. So we're going to up this because I think I'm really going to sell over my total budget. So I just adjust my budget and that adjusts that. And I know I have a new feature, so I'm going to up my price. Might be a bad decision, might be a good decision. We're going to go to $335 and we're going to try and sell at that price because remember, we haven't done any research on the price of phones. So if I have $335, maybe no one is willing to pay that. So I don't want to go too high. So then we'll go to marketing and sales. We kind of looked at that. We like demographic C. So maybe we keep doing that. I'm going to undo that because I know, and maybe I want to find the cost of the phone now, or maybe, you know what I say, B didn't buy any of my phones last time. So we're going to just do more research and advertisement for A and C. Then my corporate social responsibility, I got 10 points. I'm winning. So my people are happier than the other businesses. I made a little bit of money, so maybe I up some bonuses. Then I'm going to go back to my budget tab, kind of look at the projection. So it looks like I'm going to make some money, but I'm also spending a lot more money this time because I'm making a lot more phones than I did the first time. So we're just going to see how it goes next quarter. Doesn't say I did anything wrong or I mean to add anything. So we're just going to see what we got. So I produced more phones this time. So we'll see if they all sold out, which they did. So that tells me I probably could have upped my price. I could have made more phones. We're going to see how much I spent on everything. But I still made some money, but I could have made way more money if I'd spent, if I'd upped my price or made more phones because I could have sold way more. And that's pretty much what you do. So we are just gonna then go through everything again. So I'm gonna go to marketing sales, kind of see demographic A. Wow, bought a lot of my phones and they will spend up to $830 on a phone. So I know they want the camera and the memory and the Wi-Fi. So maybe I'm gonna do a little more into the Wi-Fi. I've got 2 features. No one else has 2 features. So I know my phone's still kind of better than everyone else's, at least in feature wise. It tells me I'm still working on the memory. That'll be done next quarter, but maybe I want to put more on the antenna because I know demographic A wants that and they really bought most of my phones last time. So the price, everyone upped their price, it looked like. I was the highest, but I have more features than everyone. I've got my new screen. I'm not going to add it, just so you can see the warning sign at the end. I'm going to try and produce just a few more phones, but I'm going to up my price because they said they'll spend up to $800. So I'm just going to try $415. We'll see. Maybe it's a bad decision. Maybe it's a good decision. We will see. Marketing and advertising, we know they'll spend a lot of money. So what I'm going to do is maybe I'm not going to do any more research. I'll see if they still want that phone, but maybe I'm going to up the marketing a lot to them because they bought all my phones. They're making me the money. Charitable giving, see how everyone's doing. Maybe I up my benefits a little bit, just to kind of help my employees. Maybe you leave it. Check my budget, bring this back down so everything looks good. Check my projections. Okay, it looks like I'm still going to make some money. So we want to go next quarter. So this says new feature not being used. So that tells me that something is missing. So we're going to go to there. It'll take me to this screen and say, oh yeah, I forgot to add this. Click that, and then I have to adjust my budget because I adjusted it ahead of time. So I just up my total budget, fix that, next quarter, end the quarter. Let's see if it paid off of me upping my price. Did I still sell a lot of phones? I sold out still, even with a higher price. I definitely could have even produced more or had my price even higher. Tells me I made money, and now we're on the very last quarter. I tell my students, if you're gonna build labs or build factories, you want to have a decent amount of quarters, so probably 8, but 12 generally. Like 4, I'm not going to make my money back. So just have them look at that. You can see I'm making the most money now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of see, okay, who bought my phones? A bought most of my phones again. They still want kind of the same thing. So maybe we'll, it's the last quarter. So maybe I'm not going to spend quite as much because I'm not going to get a new feature probably. So I don't want to spend as much money. So I'm going to see, is there anything I can get? There's not. So honestly, I might not even like put much money into it because I'm not going to get anything in one quarter. If I go to one team, I will get negative victory points. You can do that. Doesn't matter. That's totally up to you. But just know that it will give you some negative victory points. Every generation of something you get, it's done in more quarters. So the first time it takes like 3 quarters. The second time it takes a lot more quarters. You can see this one takes 7. Then again, phones, maybe I'm like, I'm on fire. We're going to make 8,000 phones. I got 2 new features, which is awesome for me. I'm going to just up this. I think I'm just going to sell. Like I'm going to sell like crazy. It's going to be mad at me because I'm going over my budget, but I'll fix that in a minute. We're going to say $533 because I think I'm going to sell like crazy. We'll up my budget a little bit. You can see there's one event here because it's negative. Oh, my employees refuse to work under current conditions. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I want to make sure that I'm not doing that. So I go back to lab and I say, you know what, we'll do 2 because I don't want people mad. I need my workers, right? So we set the price, then we're going to go to marketing again. Maybe I break it down to 2 and I'm going to do 3 and I'm going to put everything into advertising because I don't really care what this is going to tell me because I can't do any more data. So we're going to just research to everyone, advertise to everyone, get our product out there. You could keep it at 4 too, spend a little more money, and maybe do one demographic A because they have bought most of your phones. CSR, we're going to see if our workers are still happy. They are. So then we're going to go to our budget and kind of just see what we're doing. It seems like we're going to make some good money. I think I'll sell on the phone. So we're just going to go with our next quarter. This tells me that it's my final quarter. So I won't be able to make decisions. This will be the end of the game. So let's see. I produced the most phones I've ever produced. Did I sell them all even with my higher price? I did. So again, I could have even went higher on the price or made more phones. I made almost $2 million that round. And then I hit continue, and that's the end of the game. When you get to the end of the game, this is what it will look like. Although you can see throughout the game who is making the most money, the game is determined by victory points, which is basically who has the best overall game, not necessarily who made the most money, because sometimes someone can play kind of a crappy game, but then at the last quarter, they'll like cash out everything. And then they end up getting the most money, but they didn't play the best overall game. So in class, it should be determined by victory points, and that's how the statewide competition and the national competition will be determined. So then I can see here, I can use these arrows to scroll. Profit, I had the most. Research, I had the most. Production, I had the most. This just means I made lots of good decisions. So that's why I was the overall winner. I did make the most money, but I was the overall winner because I had the most victory points. So that's how a game is played. Again, we want you to play as many times as you can, because the more you understand the simulation, the easier it is to talk to students about, the easier it is to help them. But again, it takes 10-15 minutes to explain it. And while you're explaining it, they're going to walk through and make these decisions slowly. So they might make horrible decisions the first time. That's okay. The goal of this class is for them to learn from their mistakes and make better decisions along the way. So time after time. So hopefully the simulation makes a little sense once you get on it and you enjoy playing around with it and your students really enjoy it. We've had really good feedback from the new simulation. This was updated about 2 years ago. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we will answer any questions you may have. Hope you enjoy.